Are you looking for a podcast that's having a different conversation? One that brings you real guests giving unique perspectives and experiences in all things relationships? Well, look no further, because the Haven Podcast is here. With your host, Brianna, we delve into all things relationships, dating, marriage, relationships, and intimacy. So if you're looking for a show that's going to bring you a fresh perspective and a real conversation, look no further than the Haven Podcast. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
Hey, thank you for joining us for an episode of our new season, a new name, a new topic, a new season on the horizon of something big that I can just feel that God is doing in this podcast, in this show. And so I'm excited. I got a special guest. I'm about to bring her on. No need to delay. Here is no other than my friend, my sister, Stacy. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, hello, everyone. How are you?
So I'm excited about today's show. Today will be the first episode of our new season. We have been off the air for a little while because God has been trying to revamp and get me in a new space, because some of the conversations that I've been having here lately has just centered around nothing but relationships, marriage, dating, just all kinds of stuff in the church, out the church, saved and unsaved, with men. Mostly I've been having a lot of conversations with men here lately, these last couple of months, their perspective on things and their viewpoints and some of the things that I have been seeing. And I want to play something for us to get it started. I want to play what this lady has said. I thought it was very, very interesting. Let me see about bringing it on. Let me see. Let's see, y'all. Y'all know how I am. I'm not that savvy when it comes down to things like this. So let's see if I can do it. I'm going to share my screen. That's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to play this.
Relationship. If you are cheating and lying and being emotionally manipulative, if you're gaslighting her whenever she brings up an issue, you're denying her reality, but you expect her to be your peace, what you really are saying is you want to be able to do what you want to do without accountability. And that's actually dangerous, because you have to understand that the way that a woman is wired, if we're not telling you how we feel and what we think, that's not because we're trying to be your peace. That's because we don't care. And if you're the type of man who wants the freedom to be uncommitted to a woman, who wants the freedom to not be challenged by a woman, to not change for a woman, you have to realize that the only type of woman who will accept an uncommitted man is an uncommitted woman. And I don't care what it looks like. If she lets you hurt her without asking for accountability, she doesn't care. This one is for the brothers.
I want to hear from the very beginning. So
I've seen a few clips of men talking about their ideal woman, their ideal relationship, and they keep bringing up this idea of a woman being their peace. And y'all, I get it. You know, the world can be a difficult place. You know, you want your home to be a place of peace.
We got it. So I wanted us to hear that, because when I listened to that reel, and I love this lady, she comes up every so often on my feed, but that in particular really caught me, because there are a lot of conversations with men that I've been having where they do say they want to come home to a peace. They want a woman to be their peace. But she goes on with you want that, but. And her butts are so good. Go ahead. I want you to go ahead and say it, because it looks like you got something to say.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of things have become so cliche for people. And, that is an ongoing thing about be my peace, be my peace. But I think personally, individually, you have to be in a mindset and a place of peace before you can expect, because someone else can't bring you total peace. Even if I am peaceful and come in peace and create that peaceful setting, if you have inner turmoil, that what I'm bringing is not necessarily going to overshadow that. So I think we individually have to first be in a place of peace. But then what does that look like for each person? A place of peace may not look the same for me or for Jim as it does for John. So I think first a conversation needs to be had as to what does that look like for you? Because peace may just be come first one person quiet. Okay. For someone else, it could be greeting me with hugs and kisses and acknowledging me. For someone else, it could be a hot meal. So that I think it's on an individual basis, and communication is always the key to find out what peace looks like to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's listen to it one more time. I got it on my phone, so I want to listen to it one more time.
This one.
Because it's some things that she says that have been a common
ideal relationship, and they keep bringing up this idea of a woman being their peace. And y'all, I get it. It can be a difficult place. You want your home to be a place of peace and tranquility, but brothers, you cannot expect a woman to be your peace if you are constantly bringing the storm to the relationship.
So that by itself says a lot. And the thing about it with me is this. What I don't believe men really realize with women is that we have the capacity to be everything that they need, they want, and they desire. If they can understand that you cannot bring in, as she stated it so beautifully, bringing storms into the house. You want to bring storms in, but then you still want me to be at peace. Absolutely. It's hard for me to be at peace when I'm having to guard myself when I see your car driving in the driveway because I don't know what you're going to bring in today. Or I don't want my heart to crumble every time I get a call from you, knowing you're on your way home. And I understand that I just read a message from your mistress. Or I gotta, come on, let's be for real. You got off at 9 o'clock. Here it is, 11. You're calling me, telling me you're on your way home. You're bringing in storms, but yet you want me to be peace. Right. Or how about the man that does not hear, see, or even care to hear what you have to say, but yet you want me to be your peace. You want me to be all of this to you, but yet you neglect how to be a husband or my significant other to me. We don't want to have those conversations because it brings about too much of accountability and too much of being a grown man that is accountable for his actions.
And there you have it. I think we waste so much time on trying to decide and build who our partner should be that we haven't even done the self-care that's necessary. You're asking for this woman of peace or this woman of whatever, but are you willing to make the changes within you to be able to keep her in that peaceful state? Because you are looking at, to me it's kind of selfish, you're looking at what your needs are and what about hers in order for you guys to be able to complement each other. So you want that, but what kind of personal changes do you have to make to be able to bring that out or maintain that in her? So again, for me it goes back to already being in a different space of self before you even can have that expectation of someone else. There has to be a lot of self-evaluation, changing, healing, getting rid of some things. Because in her clip, she also said something about manipulation. A lot of people don't even realize they're manipulating because they've been in that space and been that person for so long. They don't realize they're doing it. They don't.
Or manipulating and gaslighting.
Yeah.
that, I mean, because that's really real in relationships. And so one of the things that I had a conversation with a really good friend of mine, and we were talking about how he had made a comment to me, and really was he posed as a question, but he said, "What more do you women want if we pay all the bills? We pay all the bills. We make sure that you have what you need, and when we come home, we can't even get at least sexually pleased." And I said, that's not all that it takes in a relationship. And I wanna include, because he said, if we're doing all of that, making sure the bills are paid, making sure that everything is running in the house, he said, what are y'all really bringing to the table? And I thought to myself, I said, you really don't know the inner workings of your home. You don't really know the inner workings of what it takes to run things behind the scenes in order that you can just get up and go to work.
Right.
Because it takes a lot. A good woman is making sure her house is fine tuned and it has the oil. It is running properly, that when you come home from work, you have your dinner ready. You come home to a peaceful home. The children are good. If a good woman, depending on who you pick, um, your clothes are ironed, your clothes are washed, you don't have to worry about what needs to go to the dry cleaners. You don't have to worry about when your family calls with all this drama. A good woman is the point of contact. They're not even calling you. We're shielding you from that. We shield you from a lot of things. A good woman does. And so for us to have this type of conversation, number one, that lets me know that you pick wrong, or somewhere you've dropped the ball in the relationship, and she started off well, but something has happened to hinder her from being the good woman that you married.
Yeah. And the for me, when I hear a man, and it makes my blood boil with that, what are you bringing to the table? Again, they're so busy looking at the woman's responsibility, because if you want to be the head of the table, what does the head do? I mean, the head has already created the table. You don't expect her to necessarily bring anything. They're sending a double message to us. You want to be the head, you want to lead, but we also have to be 50-50 or do our part. So how can you lead if and first of all, there's no such thing as 50-50. Let's be clear. There isn't. And I don't mean in a monetary sense. You guys are going to be at different places at different times in life. That I don't know who came up with that 50-50. I think we've discussed that before. But it's a double message that's being sent. So and
Mm-hmm.
and what for me is I often wonder, is that a cultural thing? Because that kind of thinking, I think, is taught and passed down.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to revamp. There are a couple of things out there that I think are misunderstood. Again, what are you bringing to the table? And you brought out so many valid points. We wear so many different hats because 9 times out of 10, king, head of household, what are we bringing to the table? We're still employed. Okay, we still have to maintain the job. We still have to maintain the home. We still have to maintain the children, making sure that they're together. We have to go to school meetings, meet with teachers, anything that happens. We still have to maintain that home and make sure that that is correct. Like you said, and oftentimes come home and cook dinner or have pre-cooked meals for several days at a time. We wear so many hats and still are expected to suppress or let go of everything else and be your peace on top of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I think once they realize what that looks like and accept and go beyond, you have to change your lens. You have to be able to look beyond your own view. If and a lot of men have gotten it. I am not bashing. A lot of men actually get it, and their household flows because they realize, okay, my job is just not to make sure all the bills are paid. I love this woman. I don't want her to wear herself out and tire her out. Let me fold these clothes. Let me
Mm-hmm.
wash the dishes or put them in the dishwasher, or let me make the kids take their bath for the night, or whatever it is. And what I want for us as women to do, we need to recognize when they make those efforts, because in our heads, and I had to do this myself, it may not have been the thing that I asked you to do or what I would have wanted you to do, because the Holy Spirit had to speak to me on several occasions because I was so frustrated. I did have so many things to do. And it's like, hey, slow down, because you still would have had to do that laundry on top of everything else. Yeah, you may have wanted him to go in there and make that bed or whatever it is you wanted him to do. He didn't do that, but he did do this. So recognize it. So when they make that effort, we do have to recognize, and then it's important to know your mate. Some people need a lot of, affirmations and thank yous and acknowledgement. You just have to know who they are with that. But it's teamwork. It is. And I think that it needs to be more conversation like what we're having now for people to understand, what it looks like for her and for him. I mean, we all have individual struggles. We don't know what it's like to be a man out there in the world, and some of the adversary that they face, and still feel up to par, or like they're, maintaining home and being what you need. I imagine it's hard to lead. It's hard to lead. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely hard to lead. It's a lot of pressure. So we have to stop looking through our own lenses, number one, I think, and better understand
Mm-hmm.
what it,
And and I think I'm one that is always the clinical part of me. Always wants to know the reason why behind people end up with who they end up with, and then when they get in that place and it becomes hard, I hear well, it was them and they've changed and they've done this and they've done that. And I'm one who says nobody really changes. They may be more open, but you knew who they were prior if you paid more attention to what you were seeing versus what you wanted to see. A lot of times people see what they want to see. For an
yeah.
example, I use this for an example. Women are we are so emotional. And so what we would do is we will see the representative, and the representative can show up for however long. People are crafty. They have become more diabolical in the things that they do and how they can do it. And so they can be a representative for 6 months. But then when the real them shows up, we see the real them. We see the potential of they can really curse me out. They really can be nasty. They really can be selfish. They really do have the heart of one who, if I'm out here stranded, they could care less how I get home or how I see that. I see they have that in them. But because of the first 6 months, we as women will hold on to a hope or the representative of a person, and we will begin to just see that for the next 6 years. And it's unbelievable to me because you saw who they were. No matter when they showed up, you saw who they were. So now you've decided to go on in this relationship or in this marriage, and you are upset with them for being who they are.
Yeah. And for me, it's so funny. I've been in that position, but it makes me wonder why. And I'm sorry, guys, if you can hear the background. I'm sorry. I'm out with friends, so I'm sorry for the background noise if you can hear that. But for me, it is what makes me overlook that. I know you mentioned like it's the first 6 months or who they showed you to be, because I make it a point to stay steady. I make it a point not to change up and do everything extra that I know that I'm not going to maintain. I mean, and who I am, my problem is kind of different. To me, go in full blown of who I am. I mean, and it's going to be consistent because that is who I am. And people sometimes thinks because they have met so many different representatives, like this can't be her. This is not. And it actually is. And it's like, you don't even know that person on that level, and you're giving them access to all of the wonderful you. I'm talking in general, not just about me. I think you have to, it's not about um sending a rep. It's about being taking it slow, taking it steady. I know it's easy to get excited and to see, but just slowing it down and not giving all of who you are in the beginning, because that person may not be deserving of that.
Hmm. But it's hard. What I'm finding is that it's hard for men and women to not go headstrong in the beginning. It's hard because it's new, it's fresh, and they
Yeah.
want to be liked. I think that's the issue. We are living in such a time where social media has made it where people are craving the likes and the attention from people, and so now this is something new, this is something fresh, and I want this person to really like me. And so, how do you start something and start it on an even keel where you can just really know that you are dating, or you are actually just getting to know a person, to know who they are, um, to see if it is going to go towards marriage, and what do you want. A lot of times people don't know what they want. Sometimes people are on two different pages. And guys, today's our first show, so we're kind of all over the place. We don't have just one topic nailed down, so we're just taking things and going um, as they come. But sometimes people really are not looking for marriage, or really looking for dating. They really just want to get with people, have this freedom to be with them today, and then tomorrow have the freedom to know that they're not committed to anybody. You know what I
It goes
mean?
back to what you said and that young lady on the video. Conversations need to be had and decisions need to be made. You cannot change a person's mind. Like Angela, what did Angela, is it, when she said, when people show you who they are, I can't think of her name.
Oh yeah, Maya Angelou.
Yeah. Maya Angelou. I was saying it. Yeah. When people show you who they are, you absolutely have to believe them. When they tell you, I'm not ready to be committed, just because they spend 5 days out of the week with you,
Hmm.
our mind starts to play tricks on us. So much time they're not seeing anyone else. Believe what they have stated until a different conversation. We start to fill in the gaps for people, which sometimes we put ourselves in positions.
Yes.
So if like in that video that we watched, had things said to me, this is fresh, this is new. I'm just getting out of a long-term relationship. I just, want us to be friends. Listen to them. And then you can ask some questions. We're so afraid, like you said, of running someone off of.
Uh oh, we can't hear you. All right, so we're back. We had an interruption, but it's all right. So I believe you were saying about the people who need to actually hear what is being said, and not going off of what they desire from a person, because it's
Right.
hard. So I've been in a situation where I actually had met someone and they were wonderful. I really liked them. I mean, we hit it off. The connection was there, and it was like, wow. But the person was not ready for a relationship.
And that's
And so,
disheartening, especially if you are. And you can have the necessary conversations, and it can be such a connection that it creates an issue. It's hard. So, what I do for myself, if I know that I like a person and, they have all the qualities or whatever, your little check off, whatever, and, but they have said, that this is, I just want to be friends or whatever the situation is, you have a responsibility to maintain your own emotions and your own feelings. And if that means slowing down, not seeing them so often, if that means not talking to them as much, put some of that attention into some of your other businesses, starting one, maintaining one, whatever, self care. put some of that time and energy that you would normally put in them, because if you already like a person, spending more time with them is not going to make you like them less.
Mm-mm.
So
Not at all.
we have a responsibility to ourselves to protect ourselves.
Hmm. And the climate out here is just it's crazy. It's weird when it comes down to dating, right? And so when you are past a certain age and you're single, and then you meet someone and y'all are on two separate pages, it is hard to say, well, I'm not going to spend time with this person, especially when you
Right.
become lonely. People become so lonely. I just had a client not too long ago, and we were discussing this, and I told her, if you spent the time to love on yourself, do all the things that you will want a mate to
Right.
do with you, for you. I said it would be hard for you to then settle just for the time of companionship that is going to be wasted with an individual who in the long run does not want to be with you.
Right. And you have to respect a person when they're honest, because there are so many liars out here, who will tell you the things that you want to hear, and knowing that they have a hidden agenda. So you have to respect the person that is bold enough to say, this is not what I want. I like you. I think you're great. You're amazing. But I'm still working on me. Whatever spill they give, you have to respect that. And you have to understand that. But again, they are not responsible for your feelings. They are not. They're responsible to treat you respectfully and decent and kind,
Hmm.
but they're not responsible for how much you like them. And so I think we tend to put that responsibility, or it becomes a heaviness to the person. And then they say, well, someone changed. And I know you just said that you don't believe that people change. Some of the things are there. But for me, it's like, well, what were the circumstances that created the change or
Hmm.
the shift? And I think the other thing is, people see one side of you. There are so many facets as to who we are, to our makeup. And we tend to cling to the one part of you that we like, and that's what we want to see on a consistent basis. But that's not how that necessarily works. So it's
Hmm.
not change. You're just seeing the other side. Like you said, it may not be change. It's just another door that either was not open or hasn't been open in a while, or that you never saw.
Hmm.
But it's absolutely, we tend to cling to the part that we like. And like you said, or maybe dismiss the things that we don't like that people have shown us. We rationalize it, but it's been there.
Hmm. Yeah, because at the core, everybody has values, core values. And at the core of everybody, that is who they are. Now, your values over time can change. I always say, with every 10 years, we all change. And so what I might have been, my core value today might be, hey, accountability. And accountability looks like, I need you to check in with me if you're not going to be here at the set time you said you were. So that might change in another 10 years, or, as time goes on. But at the core, who we are is our values.
Yeah.
We have people who will either not know their values, and they don't understand why they're struggling on the inside to even be in the company of somebody that they like them, but there's still this internal struggle. And the struggle is because this person doesn't line up with who you are as an individual. And so here it is, you start seeing these different sides of the person, and now you don't like it, and you're struggling, and you're struggling with yourself. You think you're struggling with them, but no, you're struggling with yourself, because you are betraying yourself every time you choose to stay in connection with that person. So if I am looking at someone and I'm like, hey, we might be getting married and this is looking good, but then we start getting into different situations. Let's say money, money situations, and it's like, hey, I like to spend my money the way I want to spend, and they're like, no, a super saver, and I'm like, every time I get ready to go spend my money, they're like checking in on me and saying, hey, what did you do with your money? That's going to be a struggle, because guess what? At the core of who I am, I'm a money spender. I feel like, hey, I work here, I do that, I do what I need to do in order to maintain. But they're like, no, I'm not going to work that hard. I believe we can save. I believe we can live this nice life. And so it's going to be a struggle, because it's money. And we're going to get into the sex. How much time? We're going to get into sex, because that's another thing that people struggle with, is that, hey, you know what? this is what I want in the bed.
Yeah.
And the other person's like, oh, I do it. I do it. Women do it all the time. They pretend to like something. No, they don't really like to do this. And the man knows when you don't really like to do certain things in the bed because you're not comfortable. You're not into it. You're just going through the motions. It's almost like me, I'm a pastor and I'm looking at people like, Lord Jesus, they just coming in going through the motions. You're not really into it. When you're really into it, you can feel the flow of it. And so, but we struggle with that internally because it is a war within. It really is a war. You're warring with yourself because at the end of the day, you are betraying yourself and you're mad at other people, but you need to be upset with yourself because where's the love for yourself to say, you know what, I like you, but this is just not really a match for me. This is not going to work. It's not going to work. This is not something that I want to change. I like who I am and it's work for me.
Yeah, you see, I still have to work on my face because even the thought of it, I can feel my face going, because of, and that's probably what that person feels like that's going beyond, like you said, the things that they don't like on the inside, whatever my facial expression was, that's probably how they feel internally when they're adjusting to something that repulses them. And even if it doesn't to that degree, I think that we all have been there. And if we haven't, keep living, you probably will. Um, and but for me, I'm maybe now because I'm older, but I'm big on communication. I think I've always been, and I will ask you, well, where did that come from? What is that? Or I will let you know, no, I don't like that. Maybe because I was outspoken as a kid, was always allowed to say whatever respectfully in the South. But my mom believed in allowing us to have a voice. Well, me anyways, let my other sisters tell it. I had a voice and I knew how to use it. And I still do. Like, what is that? What is it? And I don't want to come off as judging. We have to be careful because even if it's not, because everyone is different. But what I've learned is if you make a person feel bad or shunned or rejected, it can affect them being open to you again. So we have to, again, change our mindset and look through their lens and control your face because sometimes that talks too. You don't want a person to feel judged. It's more like I'm trying to understand what this is and where that came from. And then understand maybe for me that doesn't work or why, or just a workaround and not necessarily just do it. Cause again, going back to what you said, you want the person to like you. I think that she's so, oh man, I can mention it and it's done. You want to be accepted, liked so much, but is that something you're going to be able to maintain? Probably not, which comes into that, oh, she changed after we got married. No, she never liked that. She was sacrificing for you because she cared for you, but people don't see it that way. So just,
And
again, be true to yourself.
And so let's go back to the initial video we watched with everything that we've said, right? And we talk about men who say they want peace. They want to come home to a peaceful environment, but yet they don't understand how they're bringing home at times the storm. And so a lot of times men do not like to communicate. They do not like to express how they really feel about things, and they will eternalize it, and then they were acted out in other ways that are oftentimes toxic or damaging to the relationship. And so because men get upset because they feel like their wives or their significant other isn't hearing them, understanding them, they won't talk about it. They just start acting out. And again, creating the storm within the home. So if you feel like you're talking and I'm not listening, or you are trying to convey some information and I'm not hearing you, instead of you talking to me about it, you either lash out at me in a way that I feel is disrespectful, which creates a whole nother dynamic now, because most women are going to say, who are you talking to? And you're not going to be talking to me that way. Or, as some of my friends have said, they just go and get with somebody who will listen to them, but yet come home every day. Because that's what happens.
Then there's that, which is a whole other door. Yeah, they will
That's what I'm
find
saying,
it.
because that's the storm that they're
Yeah,
bringing home. Because as a woman, we know when our man is out, whether it's an emotional affair or it has become now sexual. We
right,
know because that piece of him is not coming home with him.
right. But I think for me, because I've been in a position where, but it takes real strength, real inner strength. It takes, and everyone, I know we've talked about some people, and you deal with relationships, saved, unsaved, not thinking about being saved, at the door of saved. But for me, my saving grace was that I could hear the Holy Spirit, because there I've been in some tough positions, or where the person was outright nasty, and they deserve that, what you said, that who do you think you're talking to like that? But see, that's war, that's a fight. You've put on your gloves at that point. So
Mhm.
how do we redirect someone has, and you have to, again, it, for me, it comes back to knowing yourself. If you know that you're at a breaking point and that's going to set you off, maybe you just need to walk away, breathe, when you can come back and speak in love. And that's saved, unsaved, anybody. That part doesn't necessarily fit, but it's hard. I had to walk away, and then when I was able to speak to them respectfully, it's like, I'm not sure what's happening with you, but that hurt me, because you come off differently as, who do you think you're talking to like that? Then it's, word for word. But when you let a person know, hey, you kind of humble yourself, and in a sense where it's helpful in this point, because men tend to, and that's a whole other topic, I shouldn't have said that, but it's a whole other trend going around, where men wanting to humble you. But that's a whole different
Oh,
thing.
I have heard that.
That humbling comes off as belittling. And in my opinion, I need to make you come down, because I'm not up to par. So I need to tell you, but that's a whole different humbling. The humbling that I'm referring to in this scenario is just humble yourself. You have to say, hey, and be a little bit vulnerable. That hurt me. Why did you do that? Or what is happening with you? This is not your norm. And that's the thing, don't let it become a norm. Like, what is happening? Why are you speaking like that? Did I say something? And it's taking control, and it's opening up a door. Like you were saying, they may not want to communicate, but you're giving them the opportunity to say what it is, and in a different way, with that lashing out, like, whoa, we don't talk to each other. What's happening? We don't
Mhm.
do that. Something is wrong. I'm gonna give you a minute so that we can talk in love.
Yeah, and I mean, and all of this is easy to say, but it's
It
hard to do.
is.
The reality of it is, we just not going. That's not the first response that we get. We do. It's not. You have got to be really at a place where you have done the self work. A lot of times
Yeah,
people are not doing
exactly.
self work. A lot of times people are just going through life looking at, because we have a lot of podcasts, we have a lot of reels, we have a lot of people who are speaking on different things, but at the end of the day, you have got to put something to work in your life. We can't out, in the scripture says, don't just be a hearer of the word, but be a doer.
Be a doer.
Because it's not going to take effect unless you apply it to your life. And so a lot of times, we can say what we should do, and this is how it should be done, and this is going to make, but until you're in that situation, a lot of times we don't know what we're going to do until we've already put in the work to govern ourselves. We want to govern other people, but we don't want to govern ourselves. And in order to govern myself, I first must know myself. And I must know, why am I triggered when somebody says this? Why, when somebody does that, this, and this? I have to know me in order to understand myself so that I can govern myself. So if somebody is having a bad day and they lash out, I don't take that thing and wear it as though it's a coat of armor. No, I don't have to, because then I can understand that is not their normal behavior. I'm
Right.
going to give you a minute. That's not your normal behavior. And I know this really doesn't have anything to do with me. So let's come back and revisit it. But only after I have done the self work. Because a lot of times in relationships, and whether intimate, friendships, family ships, co-workers, and neighbors, we take a lot of things on ourselves because we are hurt, we're damaged, and we just got into a place, especially if you're 40 and above and you haven't done self-work and you have been through some things in your life, check how you are treating those around you. Check how you are really responding to people who are around you when they may come off in a way that you like, I don't know who they're talking to, or they seem as though they're distant or they're changing. Check it out and see how you're responding to those things, because you may very well be responding wrong and
Well,
looking at things wrong.
you said the key right there when you were saying doing the self work. It still goes back to what we said about working on self first before you have all these expectations of the other person. And here's my thing: you said 30s, 40s. Okay. And you also said that it's easier said than done. All right. First time you come across that, you probably are going to have an emotional response. Okay. Second time, you might have an emotional response. And the second time might be not in the same relationship. It may be 2 years later. You're meeting that person that has that moment. It may be 4 years later. Okay, you reacted that way 4 years ago. If you have done any kind of work on self, you shouldn't be repeating and having that same. I don't care. We have to take the time to do self-evaluation. How did that happen? Because you can't control the other person, only you. That's why it's important to do the self work, because you can never control another person's what they're saying or their responses. So be careful of what you're asking, because we ask these questions and we're not prepared for the reaction or the response. Then we're all in a tizzy. That's a whole other thing. Stop asking things that you're not prepared to handle the answer, because you've already played out the answer of what you think it should be. And when they don't give you that or react, then that's a whole other thing.
And that's really
Be
good, because I had a conversation with someone about that very thing. So, you know, if you're in a relationship or whatever, a situationship with someone, and they've already laid it out there, and they said they do not want a relationship. They don't want it. They don't not looking to date. They're not looking to put no title on nothing. And then you go and you ask them a certain question. For one, why are you asking them this question? What are you expecting from them? And then when they tell you the answer, you want to get upset, especially if this is a person who is truthful and they're walking in their truth, and they don't mind telling you, yeah, I was with Sarah or I was with Bill last night.
And
They told you
how could you
that.
do that? How could you do that to me? I told you
I
what I
didn't want
did
a
and did
relationship.
not want.
We're not in nothing committed. Just because I spend a lot of time with you does not mean the time I'm not with you, I'm not with somebody else. You chose this after I put it out there for you. And so then people become what they call hurt. I'm hurt. They've hurt me. They ain't hurt you. You hurt yourself, because you chose to live in a fairy tale when it was already laid out for you what it was and what it wasn't.
And we always think it's the man. I've been in that position where I had to tell a person, I'm not ready for that. I don't want that. And they still continued. On a regular basis, because I enjoyed hanging out with them, I had to tell them, maybe we should back up. They would get upset at the mere thought of backing up. How dare you, or you're trying to get rid of me. And I often remind them that's manipulation, what you're doing, or you're making me the villain when I respond. And I'm like, if you say something and my response is, well, no, I'm not doing that. Or they're like, well, can I hang out or whatever? I'm like, no. And it's like, well, I don't want to. I just don't want to. We hung out yesterday or the day before. I come off as cold, and it's not, but it's just that I know, but me as a woman, and because I've gone through that and I am older, I'm not just protecting me, I'm protecting you, because we know when a person likes us. Men know too, they pretend that they don't. And when someone is liking you in a different way. And a lot of times we don't want to turn it off, because it's some perks in it for us. It's something in it for us. And that part we want to continue, but we just don't want the other part. So, but I feel like I have a responsibility when I see someone else that's moving differently and setting themselves up, I hate to say for failure or for hurt, and then it's going to be my fault. So I will try to slow it down, turn it down, or, but I'm not just protecting, I'm protecting me and you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know in the end that you're gonna make it my fault, even though I've had a conversation.
Oh yeah. And that's men. So I have discovered that men will lie to us because they don't want to go through all that whole spiel of "you hurt me." I
And
have
why
had
do we tell them that? What do we hope to gain from that? We want them to change. We want them to do what we want them to do. And that's
want
why I
them to
say
change their.
sometimes, yes, that's why I say sometimes we don't know we're being manipulative, but that is, okay, you hurt me. Well, why? How did I hurt you if I was honest in the beginning and you have opened yourself up on a whole different level when I told you, well, that was not my intention.
Mhm.
Sorry. I mean, what you want me to change and do
Change.
something
Change my
different.
mind. Yeah, and that's so scary because we would then spin the wheel and go and tell a different story to our girlfriends and act like they really did do us wrong when reality says, you know what, you signed a contract, you signed this, you got into an agreement, and now you
Uh-huh.
want to forfeit the agreement. Women
Yep.
can be, oh gosh, I cringe when I talk to some of my male friends, and I'm like, get away from her, because she knows what she's doing. She's doing these things hoping that you're
Uh-huh.
going to change your mind. And if you don't, you're going to have a whole nother thing on your hand, because we're in that season now where people, Lord, and this is y'all better tune into this season, because we're going to get into some hot topics. And so this is the season where people are saying, oh, they groomed me. Oh, they did this to me. They did all of this to you after they stopped paying you the money, paying your bills, when they stopped wanting to sleep with you, when they told you in the beginning they weren't going to marry you, and you thought they were 10 years in, and they were like, no. When did they start grooming you? Because I don't understand how somebody has made you do something, but because they had a change of mind, you mad and you want to go and to the TV outlets, and you want to get on Facebook. But if they were still paying you, or if they were, come on.
I can't wait till we have that topic because I want to be a part. Because I can honestly say that I felt like I was being groomed, and I shared that with a friend that's a counselor because I knew that I was being groomed. But it's like, okay, are you gonna cut it off, or are you gonna continue hanging out with them because you see where they're going with that? So if you continue to go with it, you can stop that grooming because you partook, you accepted.
Let me tell
But
you
I know
something.
we said that's a whole different topic, but
Let me tell you, because it's good, because grown people, my friend broke it down to me so good, because we talked, and it was a word that he used. He said, because coming from a clinical standpoint, I wanted to understand his position and why he was so adamant about, he kept saying, grown people can't be groomed. Grown people can't be groomed. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And so when he was telling me his perspective, and then I said, well, what do you do with those who have come from their background is where that's all they knew is to be submissive. All they knew
right.
is all they know. I said, and he was like, yeah, some people are conditioned. And I said, that's the word we need to use. Some people
Right.
are conditioned. They are preconditioned to be susceptible to grooming. But then we have people who actually, we know, if I do this is wrong. He really don't want me, or they just want, we know what can and what can and what will. We know good from evil, and we are making a conscious choice. Because if somebody comes off on you wrong, we know that day one, I'm gonna cut that off. Nah, don't come at me like that no more. But when we don't cut it off, I don't care how much a person can try to get you into a trusting relationship. Even
Right.
within a trusting relationship, there is still something that lets me know you trying to get me to do something that I
Yes.
know ain't right. And if I get to the place where I do it, it's because I want to do it. I stayed in this relationship and this connection because I wanted to. even when I felt the urge that there was something wrong. But we'll get into it. I think it's really good and I want us to have some more people, because I want that to be where we have those questions and things, because I think people really need to understand what is going on. But back to our, to the reason we even brought it up was because we do that as women. We go and we yell and we scream these things, knowing the whole time we made a conscious choice. I made a choice to do this, but because I feel like you did not do me right in the end, I got to get you back, because I still was holding on to a hope that was never there. I created a hope, because if somebody says they don't want this, they've said it. I don't care what. There are times where we can look at a person's actions and say, you got to go on a person's actions before you, because they said that. No, that there are times when somebody would say, I don't want this, but they were act in a way like we're in a whole relationship. We go out, we hold hands, we kiss in public, we do this, we do that, but that person still is not calling you his sweet thing, his girlfriend, his boo, his whatever. He calling you by your name. And that's it.
I felt like when I was in that position that I was in the position of the man, because it's normally the man, and it was uncomfortable for me, because if I say, okay, I'm going to the track to walk, you go with me, and because you like the setting and you see the water and the lake and you getting all the, and for a man, you're in touch with your feelings. I don't want to destroy that part of you. I want you to keep that alive for somebody that's ready for that. But I can't allow you to grab my hand. You want to hold my hand while we're walking, and I'm rude and I hurt your feelings when I said, hey, I don't hold hands with my friends. I said, that's very intimate. And I think it sends the wrong message. Because I'm very honest, and I'm not about hurting people. I've been hurt. I know what that feels like. I dare not do that to someone else. And I'm not trying to hurt you. I am trying to protect you. And then you get upset. Well, like, you're rude and there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, it is. You're not being honest with yourself. You're building up a hope, because in your head, this is still something else. And I don't want to have to keep reminding you that's not what this is. It feels like rejection every time, and it is in a sense, but it's not. But how am I rejecting you when I've told you what I want and what I don't want? It's because, again, you have a whole different thing in your head. You filled in the blanks, and that is so hard. And for me to be able, to get a different view of what that's like, I see how men are put in those positions, and it's not necessarily fair to them. So we have to be true to ourselves. And if you know that you don't have the capacity to be in that position, just remove yourself. Save yourself a lot of hurt. Just remove yourself from that. I don't care if you're lonely. Find a new hobby, read a book, get a pet, start exercising, do something for that time with the loneliness, because you're setting yourself up. Because a person, like you said, the average person may not even correct you. They will let you go right down that little rabbit hole because they don't want to hurt you. It's not easy to say those things. It hasn't been easy for me to say that, because I know it's going to hurt you, but it would hurt you more for me to let you build that up. And that's not what it is.
And that's not what it is. And, I think it's important to understand that people, just like they go to alcohol, drugs, people use people to fill a void. And so sometimes we will use people to feel that loneliness in us. But we know we don't want the commitment. We don't want the title. We're not ready for that. We feel like we're not ready for that. And by us doing things like that, we are really not just hurting ourselves, but we're hurting and we're blocking that other person from finding their person. We really are. And so, we want to play the victim, but a lot of times we are being the ones that are victimizing people and men, because I don't want to just be on men. Women have notoriously led men on. That's why you have men that are hurt and say they're not getting into a relationship, because there was some woman out there who victimized that man. and
Yep.
don't want to own the title of being a victimizer. And so
It's
women, we
true.
got to do better too. We can't just sit out here and throw out these names and these, say men are this and men are that. Well, men are the way they are a lot of times because of
It's a
how
big
we
word.
have done them. And even as mothers, I remember writing a blog post years ago, years ago, and it was, I can't remember the title, but it talked about God has showed me how women who raise these boys are raising them in such a horrible way that they grow up and they become these men that are not ever ready for a relationship because of their mother.
Yeah.
The mother has been controlling. The mother has been ultimate authority in their life, never giving them the opportunity to even choose and pick. And, this is what you're
Yeah.
going to do. This is how you're going to do it. This is what I'm going to make you play, and just being all these things and never helping them to grow into just a healthy human. Because I'm strong. I stand strong on it. I stand flat-footed, and I say it that we can't teach them how to be men, but we can
Right.
teach them how to
You
be
cannot.
healthy human beings, and we can show them how women should act. Women of class, women of dignity, women of integrity. We get to show them that. And so depending on the
Right.
canvas that we have painted at home depends on the product that is produced and when he goes out into the world. So we just hold women. We don't understand our power within this world, and how we have the ability to shape and to mold these men that are out here. If
Right.
you're a woman, and we all, there are many saved and unsaved women. There are more, y'all. I'm a pastor. I've seen it all. So there are many saved women out here still playing the field and causing damage. They really are. They're just as bad as these men. I don't care
Right.
nothing about some of these famous people we're seeing, and we're like, oh, I'm not one of them out here saying God is doing this, God is doing that. But there are women that are doing and being just as horrible as what we are
Right.
seeing or what is being portrayed in the media.
And
So yeah.
and see, that goes back to the part where I was saying we're not responsible for someone else's feelings or emotions, but we are responsible to give them truth. We are responsible to be honest with ourselves and with them and to not take away a person's choice.
Mm-hmm.
So that is our responsibility in that, to
Yes.
have been clear on what our intentions are and are not.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would hope that that would cut down on some of that. But again, unfortunately, people, and myself included at times, I'm led by emotions. And I don't necessarily always move in a thought out process. It's just, we it's a quick reply. It's a quick, and that's where you get, instead of taking the time, it's okay to take a minute to be quiet,
Mm-hmm.
and then to process, and you can govern your response better that way. But we have a responsibility of certain things, not to necessarily meet your expectations if they're not what we discussed. It still
Mm-hmm.
goes back to the main 2 points that we began with, which is communication, one, and being honest with what it is that you want and do not want. And when you hear that from a person, be honest. The other person, be honest with yourself on what you can and cannot do. Stop thinking that you're okay with something, like you said, denying yourself. You're denying yourself, and that's self-sabotage, whether we know it or not. And those people, some people are predators, and that it's people can say what they want. It's spiritual to a certain degree, even if they don't know God. It's spiritual. They can feel it. They can feel that people pleaser in you. They can feel that. And I've had a lot of men that say, "Oh, you're a good woman." You say good woman because you can see that I'm submissive to, when it in relationships a lot of times, or that I'm a yes person, or that I'm going to, I like to be easygoing. Now, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that fools them. I'm easygoing, but when I'm not, I'm not. And they don't like that other part, because I have to be honest with myself. There's no median. And you have helped me a lot with that, sis. You've helped me a lot with that, sis, pastor, whichever one I'm talking to. Both of them have helped me. because you know me. We have years on top of years. And because I am such a pleaser in relationships and I'm so pleasant, but when I'm not, I'm not. And that's
Mhm.
not a good thing. You've helped me with that. And I'm working on that. I'm working on my delivery because it can come out blunt. And I've been to that point where I was talking about other people I don't recognize. And it's like, what did I say? That's wrong. You've told me, hey, that hurt. That was not, could have said that differently. But I'm at a place where I'm willing to listen and hear, because before I was dismissive, like, oh, please, that's just how I am. Child, I didn't mean anything by that. You may not have, but hear me. That hurt me. So maybe you can adjust instead of telling me to get over it. Don't dismiss it if you care. So,
Yeah, yeah,
those things, we have to be true to ourselves.
yeah. We do. And so I really have enjoyed our conversation today. It has
I
really, really
know.
been productive. We talked about a lot of things, and what I want our audience to really take from this is that you really need to work on self. This season we're going to be talking about relationships, and it's going to cross all types of relationships, but we're mainly going to really be talking and honing and focusing on dating and marriages and things of that nature, because nobody wants to die alone. Nobody. Everybody wants to have their person, and I believe that everybody has a person. And I do believe that God has specially designed that person for us all. But we got to get to the root of what is causing us to not get with that person. What is blocking us? What is the stumbling block for us? And it really does start with us. But we're going to get into it. We're going to have shows. We're going to laugh. We're going to, sometimes we might even cry.
Right.
But one of the things that you had said too, and it's now before we get off, is it was something you were saying, but the word codependent came up for me. And as a counselor, a lot of times people don't realize that they're codependent. And we don't have time to get into it, but that is a term that we don't want to use. We don't even talk about it as much as we used to. It used to be talked about a lot, but we don't talk about it as much. But someone who has been conditioned to be codependent, it really stems from the parentals, the way that they were brought up. Sometimes people are put in roles where they have to be the parentals, and the parentals are actually being the children. And so you develop these toxic traits, and one of them is being codependent. You have to be the one who makes a person feel good. You have to be the one who saves them. You have to be the one to show them, the errors of their way, so they can look at you and tell you, good job, because we did not receive that when we were children. And so that is a need that a lot of times people have. I have a friend, and I use the term a lot with them, is you have a savior mentality, and until you can heal the little person on the inside, they're going to continuously get hurt, because you feel like you're trying to save them. I said, to your eyes, you're saving them. I said, but subconsciously you're saving yourself over and over and over. Good. And you want that person to have the same outcome as if it was you. That everybody's not there. So those are things that we're going to be talking about, because a lot of times people just don't understand what they're dealing with. And one of the biggest places, you guys, that you see this type of behavior, type of abuse, this type of toxicity is within the pulpit. Please know, I am a pastor. I love the Lord. I love God with all my heart. I've seen it all. But one thing I want everybody to take away from this show, one of the things, is that I want you to take this time and check your heart. What is at the center of your heart? Who is at the center of your heart? Do you have people? Do you have a leader? Do you have your children? What is at the center of your heart? Is being in a relationship at the center of your heart? Whatever's at the center of your heart is your idol. That is the thing that you idolize. The only one that should be at the center of your heart is God. God is love. Learn to love God in order to even learn to love yourself. And so I want everybody to take this and do this for me. If you was a client of mine sitting in my chair, I would give you this homework. And my homework to you would be, who or what is at the center of your heart? I want you to take the time to sit with that question. And I want you to have a journal that is sitting beside you. And whatever comes up, write that thing down. Write it down. Because then you begin to start peeling back layers of why you are the way you are in this season of your life.
That's
so again, I thank everybody for joining us. Thank you, Stacy. Stacy will be joining us a lot this season. We will have other guests, and we are going to chop it up. Remember that I love you guys. I do. I truly love you. I'm always praying for you, and I'm excited. This is the haven. This is a safe place for you to come and have those real conversations, and whatever language you choose to use, we do not judge you over here on this side of the Jordan. And so make sure that you share, you subscribe, whatever channel you were using, Facebook, YouTube, Anchor, or Apple, iTunes. We are there. Find us, and please take the time to share us. Please, if you're on Facebook, you will find us. You will find us live on Facebook often, and you will find pre-recorded shows. I want you to take the time to share and comment. You can always write in at soulcare@BriannaHedden.com with your questions, your comments. If it's something, a topic you want to hear, write in and let us know. And I will take those things and I will use them, and we will talk about it, because this is a season of healing. Y'all know I'm all about the soul. And so I want to see everybody whole and healthy. Again, until next time, we love you, and we will see you then.